Good morning, boys and girls. It's Miss Payne back to teach some second grade math with you guys today. We are going to get started this morning on subtraction today. Now, I know that you remember that we did addition last week, so today we're moving on to subtraction. So let's think about what we talked about last week with addition. Do you remember what we said about when we add numbers together? What happens to our answer or our sum? When we take those two numbers and we put them together, what does our answer look like, our sum? Is it bigger or is it smaller? That's right, it's bigger. Now, today, when we talk about subtraction, it's going to be a little different. We're going to use some of those same strategies, but we're going to use them in a little bit of a different way. So our standard that we are going to talk about today is I can use strategies to subtract numbers within 1,000 and know when to borrow or regroup. Sometimes we do have to borrow or regroup from the other place values. So today we will talk about subtracting instead of adding. But let's think about some of those words that mathematicians use when they talk about subtracting. Well, the first word that we know that we should use is subtract. So what does it actually mean to subtract when we subtract something? That's right, it means to take away. And you may hear people say that sometimes. They may say, I have 5 apples. Somebody takes away 3. How many do I have left? That is what subtracting is. Subtracting is taking away or taking things apart. So that is one of our words that we need to know today. The other word that we need to know is, what is that symbol that we use when we subtract? I know when we add, we use a symbol, and we call that a plus sign. Do you know what it's called? The symbol that we use to subtract? That's right, it's called a minus sign, minus. And what does it look like? It looks like a dash, that's right. It just is a small dash, that's a minus sign. The other word that is very important when we're talking about subtraction is difference. This word is the answer to a subtraction problem. When we are looking for the answer to a subtraction problem, we call that the difference. Just like when we add, what do we call the answer to an addition problem? The sum. But when we subtract, we call that answer the difference. You'll see word problems that ask you to find the difference. So is it important for you to know what difference means? It is very important. So we need to remember these 3 words. So these are words that we are going to think about today as we are learning or refreshing our brains on how to subtract with 3-digit numbers. All right, so let's look at a problem. Holly has 368 Pet Pal cards. Dara has 243 cards. How many more cards does Holly have than Dara? Let's think about that problem for a second. What are these questions down here? What is the problem about? Well, it's about Pet Pal cards. Holly has 368 Pet Pal cards and Dara has 243 Pet Pal cards. What are you trying to find out? That's right, you're trying to find out how many more cards Holly has than Dara. So what information from this problem would be important for us to be able to find out how many more cards Holly has than Dara? Well, that's right, we need to know how many cards each of them have. So when we're trying to find how many more, what do we need to do? We need to subtract. So let's think about this problem. So if we need to find out how many more cards Holly has than Dara, we would have to subtract those 2 numbers. So we would subtract 243 from 368. Or we can also say that 368 minus 243. Now, last week we talked about some strategies to help us add. Well, we're going to use some of the same strategies today to help us subtract. So if you look up here, I kind of already wrote out some of those strategies. So I hope you have a piece of paper and a pencil so you can work some of these problems out with us. But let's think for a second. One of those strategies that we used last week for addition was using base 10 blocks or drawing a quick picture. Now remember, we talked about the fact that you probably don't have base 10 blocks laying around your house, which is fine, but you can draw a picture to show those base 10 blocks. But today, I'm going to first show you the base 10 blocks and then we'll look at the picture. So the first number that I would have to build would, of course, would it be our bigger number or would I build our smaller number? Which number am I taking away from? That's right, I'm going to take away from our bigger number. And what is our bigger number? The bigger number is 368. So I want to build that number, 368. So how many hundreds will I need? Remember, these squares are my hundreds. There's 100 small squares in one of these big squares. So I have 1, 2, 300. So there's my 300s. How many tens do I have? Remember, my tens are my sticks, and there's 10 ones in one stick of 10. So I need 6 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there's my 6 tens. And then we get to our ones place. How many ones do we need to build that number 368? That's right, we need 8 ones. All right, so I've got some different colored ones today. I have some blue ones and some green ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, so I have built my first number, my bigger number. I have 368. Now, what do you think I need to do to solve this problem? Well, remember we said subtraction means take away. So I'm going to take some away. How many would I need to take away from 368? 243. So we can start and just take away by place value. So what number is in the hundreds place? A 2. So how many hundreds will I need to take away? If you said 2, that's exactly right. So I'm going to take 2 of those hundreds away. I'm taking them off. I'm subtracting them. How many tens do I need to take away? That's right. There's 4 tens. 1, 2, 3, 4. And how many ones do I need to take away? There are 3 ones that I need to take away. So now I have subtracted 243 from 368. Now I can put these together and I have my difference. What is my difference? Let's look and see if we can turn this into a number. So I have 100, 2 tens, and 5 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means my difference is 125. So see, we can use base 10 blocks to subtract, just like we use base 10 blocks to add. Now when we add, we put them together. When we subtract, we're taking away. So we can use that same strategy for subtraction. Now, remember when we added the last week, we had to do something called regrouping. Well, sometimes with subtraction, you also have to regroup. Sometimes you don't have enough to take away. So if you don't have enough to take away, what can you do? Well, that's where that regrouping comes in. So this was one strategy we used to subtract, and we didn't have to do any regrouping with this problem. And that's the same with these two. Remember seeing these strategies? The break apart numbers, that works with subtraction as well. I took these numbers, the same problem, 368 minus 243. I broke it up into expanded form. 300 plus 60 plus 8, 243, 200 plus 40 plus 3, and then I subtracted and ended up with the same number. Now remember we talked about using different strategies. We always want to make sure that we get the same answer. Then I did the open number line. Well, when we did the open number line with addition, we had to count up. So what do you think that you would have to do with subtraction to use an open number line? You would have to count back. So see right here, we started out with 368, but we were taking away, subtracting 243. So I had to go backwards. 368 minus 200s, so that was 268, 168. Then I had to take away 4 10s, so I backed up again, 10 minus 10, minus 10, minus 10, minus 10, and that took me to 128. Then I had to subtract 3 ones, so I had to back up again, minus 1, minus 1, minus 1, and I ended up with 125. So all 3 of my strategies, I ended up with the same answer or the same difference, and that's what we want to see happen. Now, I know that you've done some subtracting already without regrouping, so I want to go ahead and get into talking about our regrouping. Okay, how can you tell when you need to regroup to subtract? So let's think about that question for a second. How can you tell when you need to regroup to subtract? Well, we know how to tell when we need to regroup to add because we talked about that last week, but let's talk about how we know when we need to regroup to subtract. All right, look at this subtraction problem. 368 minus 249. Let's think about that problem for a second. Sometimes you have to regroup to subtract 3-digit numbers. So look up here, they're going to break apart our numbers and let us really look at them to decide when we need to regroup. So it says write less than, greater than, or equal to compare hundreds, tens, and ones. Well, we broke apart 368. 300 plus 60 plus 8. 249. 200 plus 40 plus 9. That's that expanded form that we talked about that we knew was going to come in handy. So is 3 greater than, less than, or equal to 2? That's right, 3 is greater than 2. So if I have 3, can I take 2 away from it? I can. I can take 2 away. 60 and 40. Let's see, let's look. 6 and 4. Well, 6 is greater than 4. If I have 6, can I take 4 away? I can. So that one would be fine. Uh-oh, let's look at the last one. 8 and 9. If I have 8, I'm holding up 8 fingers. Can I take 9 fingers away from my 8 fingers? No, I cannot do that. So this would be a place where I would have to regroup because 8 is less than 9. I cannot take 9 from 8. I don't have enough. So this is an area where I'd have to regroup. So what are there not enough of? It says there are not enough blank in 368 to subtract 249 without regrouping. Well, where is the 8 and the 9? What place value? It's in the ones place. So there are not enough ones in that number to take away 249 without regrouping. So we're going to show how to write 368 a different way to show more ones because we need more ones to be able to regroup. So if you notice down here we have 368. They broke that up and instead of 368 they wrote it out as 300s, 50 or 5 tens, and then we took that 10 and we broke it up and we put it in the ones place. So that means we show 18 ones. So we broke that 10 apart. We took a 10 and then we broke it apart and we made it have 18 ones. So let's think about that for a second. So that would be like me having this stick of 10, taking this stick of 10 and just pulling those ones out. So if I did that, I would not have a 10 anymore and then I would have 10 of these little individual ones, which is what we've been using up here. So that is how we would regroup from the tens place to the ones place. All right, let's think about this problem. Then we're going to try one of these strategies to solve this problem. There are 450 campers at Camp Cody. One day, 218 campers do art projects. The rest do sports. How many campers do sports that day? Well, remember, we think about our problem. What is the problem about? The problem is about the campers at Camp Cody. What are you trying to find out? Well, we're trying to find out how many campers do sports. We don't know the number of campers that do sports, so we need to know. What information do we need to know to be able to figure that out? Well, we know how many total campers there are, which is 450. So there are 450 total campers. We know that number. And what else do we know? We know that one day 218 campers do art projects. But what do we not know? We don't know the number of campers that do sports that day. So how could we find out how many campers will do sports? We could subtract. That's right. We could subtract to find out how many campers do sports. So let's think about some of our different strategies that we could use to find out how many of our campers do sports. Well, we can use those same strategies that we use even when we don't have to regroup. Those strategies will still work. So let's look at the first strategy. We can use base 10 blocks. We can take our base 10 blocks and we can put them up and make the first number. So we always want to make our bigger number. What is the bigger number? 450. So I would need 4 hundredths. I would need 5 tens. That's right. Oh, and how many ones? How many ones do I need? 0. I don't need any ones. I have no ones, so I'm not going to put any ones. Thank you. All right, so I'm not going to need any ones because I did not have any ones yet. But let's look at how many we need to take away. We need to take away 218. 218. Now, I can take away 200s because I have enough. And I can even take away 110. But can I take away 8 ones? I can't because I don't have any ones. So what do you think that I need to do? I think that I need to regroup and I need to take one of my 10s and break it up into ones. Do you think that would help? I think so. So if I take this 10 and I break it into ones, that means I'm going to end up with how many ones? 10, that's right. So I'm going to take that 10 away and I'm going to give myself 10 ones. Am I still going to have the same amount? I am. I will still have the same amount. It's just placed differently. It's just placed differently. All right, so I'm getting my 10 ones. Takes a long time. Let's see. We have 8, 9, 10. So I still have 450. 100, 200, 300, 400, 10, 20, 30, 40. 440, and then my 10 ones would be 450. So I still have 450, but I have to take 218 away. Well, all I did was make it easier for me to do that. So now I can take away 2 hundredths, 1 10, and 8 ones. 2, 4, 6, 8. And what am I left with? Let's see how many we have left. So I see 2 hundredths, 10, 20, 30, 3 tens, and 2 ones. So now we know how many campers. Let's remember what our problem was. How many campers do sports? So 232 campers do sports. So we were able to figure out that problem by using regrouping. We regrouped and made our 10 some ones so that we could take enough away. All right, so we found out the answer to that problem. Now, I know that you probably don't have base 10 blocks at home, so let's look at how you could do it using a picture. So remember we talked about that quick drawing. So we could, if you didn't have base 10 blocks laying around at home, which you probably do not, but you probably have them in your classroom at school, we could draw our quick picture, 450. Remember, we just draw squares to show hundreds. There's 4. And then we're going to draw sticks to show tens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 450. And so then what I would want to do is take away 218. So it would be the same difference, the same thing. But I'm going to show on a picture. You can see how they show. I'm going to cross out this 10 and I'm going to turn it into ones. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now I have 450 shown as a picture. 100, 200, 300, 400, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Then I can cross out to show taking away 200. 218. 200s, 110, and 8 ones. And what am I left with? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 232. Is that the same answer? It is. It's the same difference. So I can do the base 10 strategy, or I can do the draw a picture strategy. Now you would probably want to do the draw a picture strategy. That would probably help you because you probably don't have those base 10 blocks at home. So let's look really quickly. We're kind of running out of time, so I'm going to show you a problem and we're going to think about how we would show that. So this problem says Jim has 572 stamps. Leo has 347 stamps. How many more stamps does Jim have than Leo? All right, what I want you to do is I want you to write this problem down, and then I want you to solve it when we finish using that picture strategy and that base 10 strategy that I just showed you. And then next, on Thursday when we come back, I'll show you another couple of strategies and we'll work some more with regrouping with subtraction. We're going to end up regrouping into the hundreds too. So we'll work on that more Thursday. So write this problem down. It would be 572 minus 347. And I want you to see if you can draw a picture and subtract that problem to find the difference. All right, guys, you did such a good job today. I know we moved so fast. This little time goes by so quickly, but I had a great time working on subtracting with regrouping today, and I will see you Thursday to do some more of that. I cannot wait. I will see you then. Bye, guys.